First, we are going to start with magnetism, electricity and magnetism section. In electricity and magnetism section, we have static electricity, properties of magnets, then current electricity, practical electricity. So these are the topics which are included in this section. So first, if we start with the concept of magnetism, our first concept is related to magnetism. Okay, so basic knowledge we already know about that in magnets we are having two different poles, right? If we
Yes,
talk
yes,
about magnets, so these are some basic thing. You already know that there are two poles in magnets. One is the north pole,
yes,
second one is the south pole, and you also know about their properties that repel each other, unlike poles will attract each other, right?
yes.
These are some basic north pole and south pole. And further, if we talk about their properties, so unlike pole will attract each other.
Okay, I can hear you.
Now, am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And if we are talking about the like poles, so like poles will repel each other, like north and north, south and south will repel each other. North, south, or south, north will attract each other, right?
Yes, yes,
So these are very basic common thing that you already know about it. And further, if we talk about their properties, that magnetized and magnetic. So basically, there are some different terms and there are some different properties involved in this section also. Let's suppose if we talk about what is the difference between magnetized and magnetic. If we talk about the term magnetized
okay.
and the second term is magnetic. So what is the difference in these two terms?
I don't.
Okay. Basically, if we talk about the magnetized and the magnetic, so in this section, we need to know about some basic properties. The first one is that let's suppose if we talk about the magnetized material,
Yes,
so basically magnetized material can both repel and attract, right? Because they themselves are magnet and so they have their own poles, so they can easily attract or repel any other magnet, right?
yes,
When we are talking about magnetic material means, because if we are talking about, let's suppose if we are saying magnetized material and magnetic material, so magnetic material means that let's suppose if we are having a magnet and we are having a piece of iron, right?
yes,
So you know that piece of iron is going to attract towards the magnet, right?
yes, yes,
So iron is magnetic material and magnet is a magnetized material, right? Because it have
yeah.
its own magnetic property and it have its own north and south pole. So it can easily attract and repel, right?
So
But
what are like different magnetized objects like the
yes,
magneton?
if we are talking about magnetized, so magnetized material basically are those magnetized materials can easily attract and repel. It means it have both properties, attract and repel property, just like a simple magnet. Let's suppose if we are talking about example of magnet and a magnetic material like iron. Let's suppose if we are having a magnet, are having a magnet, and let's suppose we are having a piece of iron
Okay.
or any type of magnet. So now if you want to categorize between these two properties or between these two examples. In this example, we can easily identify that this magnet is a magnetized material, right?
Yes.
Because it has property to or repel, depending upon the condition that either we are placing another magnet towards it or
Yeah.
we are working with some different condition. So this is magnetized material. When we are talking about these pieces of metal, so this magnetic material. Magnetic means that it can only attract towards magnet, right? Because we know that
Yes. Yes.
metal or piece of metal have no poles like north and south pole like magnet, so they can only attract towards magnet. So that is the difference. Magnetized material can attract and repel both, but magnetic material can only attract towards the magnet, right?
Okay.
So for the second thing we can write, we already written for the magnetic material, sorry, magnetized material. And
Yes.
for magnetic material, so magnet towards magnetized material.
Yeah.
Is one difference, because when we are solving the question they used to write terms magnetized and magnetic, and we skip that. We are not focusing on these terms, but these terms are very much important. That helps you to identify that what they are talking about, right?
Yes.
So only attract towards magnet. So that is a very common difference.
Okay.
And further, you know about some permanent magnet and temporary magnet, because we can
Yeah.
easily magnetize any metal, or we can also demagnetize that metal, but permanent magnet have their own natural property. So if we are talking about some permanent magnet materials, if we are talking about permanent magnets, so the material which we use for the permanent magnets are made up of steel,
Okay.
because we know that a magnet can also be found in mountainous area or in different regions, but the
Yeah.
magnets which are manufactured in company or any industry, so that are made up from the steel, because the steel has some strong property of magnetic property as compared to some other material like iron.
Metals. Yeah.
And because iron is a soft material, so it can easily magnetize and easily demagnetize. If we compare steel and iron, so the
Yeah.
difference between steel and iron is, let's
Yeah.
suppose,
What?
yes.
And
So for permanent magnet, whenever they ask in any question or when they ever ask about any concept related to permanent magnet, so always remember we use steel for permanent material or permanent magnetic material, right? So steel is always used for permanent purpose.
permanent magnets.
Yes, because let's suppose if we take a steel rod, right, and we try to magnetize that steel rod, and then if we try to demagnetize it, so it would not be demagnetized very easily, right? Because steel is a
Yes.
permanent type material. So once it got magnetized, so it will very difficult to demagnetize it. In comparison with the iron, if we take iron, let's suppose if we take
Yeah.
iron material,
Yes.
or if we take iron rod and we try to magnetize this iron rod, so it can be easily
How do you magnetize it?
yes, we will also discuss the method how we
Okay.
will magnetize
Okay.
this. So it can easily magnetize and easily demagnetize, right? So it is temporary type magnet.
So it means you can give the properties and then you can easily remove them.
Yes. So if we compare the properties of steel and iron, so iron can easily magnetize, also it can easily demagnetize. But if we talk
Yeah.
about
Yes.
steel, so once steel got magnetized, so it will difficult to demagnetize it, right? And
Yes.
let's
Yes.
if we discuss about how to magnetize the materials, so if we talk about their process, So how to magnetize? So basically the method we use in our daily life to magnetize, or in the laboratory to magnetize the material. So those properties are, the number one is by mean of electricity, because we know the concept of electromagnetism and we know that electric property and magnetic property can replace each other, right? We can use a
Yes.
magnetic property in place of electrical property, and we can also use electrical property in place of magnetic property. So by mean of electricity we can easily magnetize
Magnetize.
any material, right?
Yes, yes.
Or a very simple method is by contact method. Let's suppose if we are having a two rod, one is iron, one is steel, and one we have a strong permanent magnet, right? If we
Yes.
place that rod with that magnet for a short time, let's suppose we take 10 minutes and we just combine that magnet and iron rod, and after that when you place that iron rod over some magnetic material like thumbpin, so those thumbpins are got attracted towards that iron or steel bar, right?
Yes, yes.
It will shortly magnetize, or we can say that temporarily magnetize. So that is a contact method. We just place a rod with a magnet for a short time, and then we try to pull the
Like how do you place this? Like keep them together?
yes, let's suppose if we consider these two examples, by contact method and by electrical method. So first if we talk about the electrical method, because electrical method is more important for us, because this is more stronger method to magnetize any material. So let's suppose if we want to magnetize electrically, so electrical method is, let's suppose we are having a rod and we can we are using a wire and we connect it with the battery.
Okay.
So permanent, this is the positive side and this is the negative side, right? And current starts flowing through this wire, right? And we know that
Yeah.
when current start flowing through the conductor, so there will be a magnetic field around a wire, right? We also discussed that concept in electromagnetic induction chapter, that is the last chapter of this section, right?
Oh,
So for your reference I just write it, whenever or when current passes through a conductor, current pass through any conductor, it will generate magnetic field around it.
yes.
So
Okay.
when a magnetic field is generated around a conductor, so that magnetic field will affect the iron, or let's suppose a steel rod. Uh,
Will it permanent?
can you repeat again?
Will it be permanent or temporary? This one.
Let's suppose if we are taking iron, so iron can magnetize for a short time, right? Because there is a
Yeah.
change in, or there is a difference in the property of iron and steel. If we repeat this process for steel, so steel can be permanently magnetized, right? Because it will
Yes.
very difficult to demagnetize the steel. So if we are using iron, so the same property we already discussed, that iron can be magnetized, but it is temporary. Temporary in the sense that it can easily magnetize, easily demagnetize, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if we are talking about iron, so iron can easily magnetize and demagnetize.
Okay.
That's why we are using word temporary, right? So easily magnetized and demagnetize. And that's why we are using this iron in our daily life, because we use both the terms, both the concern that if we want to magnetize, so we can
Okay.
magnetize it, and if we want to demagnetize, we can easily demagnetize. So iron is more useful as compared to the steel in our daily life. And let's suppose if we are using it on steel, so steel can be
Um,
difficult to magnetize because it will take time, because properties is different from the iron,
yes.
difficult to magnetize and demagnetize.
Okay.
So this is a very difference, because most question they used to ask that why use soft
Your
iron in.
voice is lagging a lot. I can't hear.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so in most of the question, they used to ask that why we use iron in our circuit, right? Or why we use
Yes.
soft iron in our circuit. So the reason behind this is that soft iron can easily magnetize and easily demagnetize, right? Let's suppose if we
Yeah.
take the example of the door stopper, or let's suppose if we are taking the example of the barrier on railway track, right? When train
Yes.
is going to cross that railway track, so that barrier is closed for the traffic, right? And when train cross that specific area, so barrier will be open for the traffic. So in these type of situation, we use electromagnetism effect. We use a button for that, so that operates on the concept of electromagnetism, right? So we
Yes.
use iron material because iron can easily magnetize, so it operates on one direction, and when it demagnetize, so it will operate in different direction. But if we use steel, so once steel got magnetized, so it will very difficult to demagnetize it, right? So
Yeah.
that is the concept. If you
Okay.
remember, or if you saw that example, that there is a heavy crane that use in the garage of the parking, that old car that is going to be crushed, so that are also made up of some metal material. So when we used to lift that car, so we can lift that car by using that crane, and that crane also contain a magnet. We also observe that in the cartoons, that there is a crane and heavy magnet is attached on the.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so we also use iron over there. When we push the button, so that iron piece will got magnetized, as it can easily lift that any metal material or any iron material, right? And when
Yeah.
we just close that button, so it will got demagnetized. So that's why iron is more useful in our daily life as compared to the steel. But
Still,
let's
yes.
suppose in motors and some different appliances where magnet is permanently used, so we use steel over there, because steel is a good option for
Permanent.
permanent
Yes.
magnet and a strong magnet.
Yes.
That is the difference between steel and iron. And that is very much important for our syllabus also, because most of the time they talk about magnetic properties of iron and steel.
Okay.
Because there are some other material like cobalt, nickel, but our most important concern is related to iron and steel. And whenever they ask about you, so they ask about you iron and steel. And
Okay.
the second method we are talking about, uh,
Okay.
the by contact, or another term we use for it is induction method.
Okay.
And the induction or by contact method is, let's suppose, so in induction method we can say that, when a magnetic material when a magnetic material is placed in a magnetic field, you know that we are writing magnetic material, right? We already discussed
Yes,
the
yes.
magnetized and the magnetic. So magnetic means that it is a type of material which can easily attract towards the magnet. So when a magnetic material is placed in a magnetic field, magnet means close to a magnet where magnet can easily apply force of attraction, right?
Yeah.
So whenever we place near a magnet, let's suppose we are having a magnet over here and there is a north pole and a south pole, and we placed, let's suppose, a iron bar or a steel bar over here. So this is our steel bar of iron, very close to the magnet. So that's why we can easily say that this iron bar is placed in a magnetic field. So due
Okay.
to that magnetic field, iron bar will also temporarily magnetized, right? So this
Okay.
iron bar got temporary magnetized due to magnetic field, right? Because in the
Yes.
first method, if you remember, we also use the same concept, because when current passes through any conductor, it will generate
Yes.
magnetic field. So in first method, it is also magnetized due to magnetic field. In second method, it is also going to magnetize using magnetic field.
Magnetic
In
field.
electrical method is very much strong because we can increase the current, so magnetic field will also increase. But in induction method, we are not able to increase the magnetic field, because once we place the
Only
magnet,
time.
yes, so it will be,
It cannot be permanent if you use steel.
if we are using steel, so it will be permanent, but a weak type of magnet, right? Because this method is not much stronger as compared to the electrical magnet. So we can temporarily magnetize this material, and it is also called, this type of magnet is also called, or this method is also known as induced magnetism. Basically, there are two difference, or we can say that there are two terms in normal life. We use a word produced, right?
Yeah.
Produce, like to make something or to generate something by using mixture or by using some specific process. But there
Yes.
is another word, induction. Induction is like thing, let's suppose, in induction there is no physical contact, right? In
Yes.
this
Yes.
statement we write that when a magnetic material is placed in a magnetic field, so there is only a magnetic field which is invisible, right? We are
Cannot
not
touch it.
able to observe, yes. And there is no direct contact, just like this electrical method, the wires, the battery, the electrical current. So when we are talking about that the property of one material can change the property of second material, so that is the process of induction, right?
Yeah.
Let's suppose if your gathering is, or you can say that if your gathering of your friends is very good, so you will
Yeah.
learn good things, right? But if
Yes.
someone have a bad gathering, like that friends are not from, we can say that not good in talking or not good in habits,
Yeah.
so you will get same properties, right? Because
Yes.
there is
Yes.
no physical contact, but you are getting by your gathering, right?
Oh,
Around
yes.
your
Yes.
surroundings or from your atmosphere. So that is a type
Yes.
of
Yes.
induction. So
Oh,
that's why we use term induced magnetism, because we are generating a magnet with the help of magnetic field of any other magnet, right? So that's why
yes.
it is known as induced magnetism. And when it
Oh,
got magnetized, so it will also have two poles, north and south pole. And
okay. Yes.
again, it will attract or repel any other magnet or any other material, right?
Materials.
And since we are talking about magnetic field, right? So there is a
Yes.
very important concept related to the magnetic field. So the magnetic field, first of all, let's define magnetic field. So magnetic field is a region. So the region around a magnet where a force,
Is the definition of magnetic field?
yes,
Okay.
on another magnet or any other magnetic material. So this region where a magnet can force or apply a force on any other magnet or magnetic material. So basically this property is known as,
Magnetic field.
yes, magnetic field. So this is the concept of magnetic field, right?
Okay.
Any question or any confusion till now?